All right, everything that's being said now is recorded. We're probably gonna have some other people meander in, and I'm sure we'll have some people join us via Zoom. Thank you very much for being at the Focus Friday. Beth Cashin is gonna take over in just a second. Want to thank our sponsor, Dave Baucom, Business Day Cornelius today. Dave is going to probably be taking some notes, and notes that he doesn't take, it's being recorded, and I'll send you the link. So, what you're saying is probably gonna end up in the paper. Our presenting sponsor is Novant Health, Huntersville Medical Center, Mike Raleigh. We always, ask Mike if he could say some things about what's going on. Is there any, I mean, certainly COVID's down, but flu's been back up, but I think things are sort of in check, but, Mike, can you say something on behalf of what's going on with Huntersville?
Sure, yeah. Thanks, Bill. As always, we're proud to sponsor Focus Friday, great event. I'm very interested in hearing what you guys have to say. I think, thank you guys for what you do. You're invaluable to our community, so thank you for that. As far as where things are, you're right, Bill. COVID numbers are down pretty dramatically. Generally speaking, when people are in the hospital, and they have COVID, it's almost a coincidence. They're in with something else and they happen to have COVID. We're looking at, taking away some of our mask restrictions in some of our high acuity areas because the respiratory symptom, the respiratory infections are going down pretty dramatically. So from that perspective, things are, I knock on wood, things are looking better at the hospital from that perspective. But I'll hand it back to you, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, Mike. I was just sharing with him. I'm not the healthy guy in the bunch, so we've got the Krispy Kremes over here. They are green. I've never had a green donut, so this is gonna be kind of unusual. But please help yourself when we have coffee. Again, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Dave. WSIC is also a sponsor of this program, and we thank them. Beth Cashin is our 2024 Public Policy Chair, and got a great program on today. So Beth, I'm just gonna turn it over to you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. And of course, Mike, thank you all for the sponsorship. Dave, we appreciate all you all do to support the chamber and the region. To continue with our theme of local recognition, we have all our 3 towns police chiefs this morning. I appreciate you all joining us so much. I had the mayors, I've got the Parks and Recs folks coming, the fire chiefs coming. We'll have the town manager at some point, and I don't want to be accused of playing favorites as to who starts and who goes first, but today, if you go by town alphabetically, it starts the same as if it goes by last name alphabetically. All the way around. So with that, we'll start with Chief Baucom of Cornelius, who joined, well, he's been with the Cornelius Police Department for many years, 25 plus years of service. I think he came to the Cornelius Police Department in 1992.
99.
99?
The sheriff's office in 99.
Sheriff's, okay. Sheriff's Office, 25 years of service, starting in the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office in 92. Graduated from Independence High, began work as a fugitive transport. You received your associate's degree from CPCC and a bachelor's degree from UNC Pembroke, if I'm correct, great. And all the uniqueness of all 3 of our chiefs this year is that all of them are relatively new to the chief position, not certainly new to policing. Chief Baucom, you took the role as chief in January of 2023. Correct. Okay, great. You worked in every area of the department in Cornelius, including the SWAT team, which you were a member of for many years. 8 years, 10 years?
About 10 years as the commander of the SWAT team, yeah.
And then also I found a tidbit of the use of force policy. You were involved in the use of force clarifying language when that came to be back in 2 or 3 years ago.
Yes, so when the incident with George Floyd happened, we went through a use of force review and just tried to make sure that our use of force policy was in line with all the other agencies, not only across the country, across the state, but also really across the country.
Yeah, interesting. That's fabulous work. Chief Davidson, you joined the Davidson Police Force in January of 2023. After many years of service, a couple of retirements, and then you came back. So can't leave the role. I think the chief started his local law enforcement as an officer in Maryland and Raleigh. North Carolina, correct? How long were you in Raleigh, North Carolina?
I was in Raleigh from 82 to 85.
Chief Davidson at that point then joined the U.S. State Department, taking over multiple assignments in the federal agency and diplomatic security services as an investigator, supervisor, department leader, all in the U.S. as well as foreign countries, including the American Embassy in Afghanistan.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it right? Okay. Retired in 2019, was recalled to active duty in 2021 to serve on the Accountability Review Board for Special Investigations, and retired again, and then came back and began another career as an auxiliary police officer in Fairfax County, Virginia, until you took the role in Davidson in January of 23.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Chief Graham, Huntersville Police Chief, taking the role in June of 2023. You began your patrol work in Huntersville in 1997.
That's correct.
Correct. Served as an officer in Biltmore Forest prior to your tenure in Huntersville. You also received your associate's degree from CPCC and a bachelor's degree from Western Carolina. And as all of our chiefs served in all areas of the department in Huntersville, school resource officer, which probably was the most challenging, having teenagers.
Yes.
Detective, crime prevention, recruitment sergeant, administrative lieutenant, and bureau commander, and then took the lead as, managing the day-to-day operations and the budgeting process, which probably was the second most difficult part
Absolutely.
of the job.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Well, if we could start, Chief Baucom, with you, just sort of a State of the Union address on Cornelius and your views and how you all work together, anything you want to share with the group in the region.
Sure. So Cornelius always has been a wonderful place to work and to live. And, you know, we truly appreciate our residents and the relationship that we have with them. Our patch says community policing driven, and we truly believe in that. You know, we want to be out with the public, interacting with them, whether it's in their neighborhood, in an event that we've pre-planned, you know, just anything and everything we can to get involved with the community. Our biggest crime issue up here, thankfully, is property crimes. And it always has been. We just had this discussion before we started, and unfortunately, it probably always will be, or at least I hope that'll be the least of our concerns is property crimes. And as people typically that come here from outside areas and target our residents, our businesses, and either break in or steal from them. So.
Very good. Chief?
Yes, ma'am. I have to agree with everything that Chief Baucom said, except for the thing about Cornelius. I think Huntersville's the best place to live. We're very similar. I believe that, we all share the same thing, as we have a lot of folks come in from out of town that commit crimes and stuff like that. Property crime is our number one thing. We were up 12% overall last year in our crime. We are focused on community policing as well. We've got some plans on starting a community engagement group. There for a while with the hiring process, we had issues. It was hard to keep our community policing projects up. We were becoming very reactive. So then now that we're back to being full staff, we're going to start working on that in the future. We believe that the community is really what makes the towns wonderful. Without their involvement, along with the business owners, we couldn't get a lot of stuff done that we need to. Our people and our businesses are a huge part of us, and we encourage them to reach out to us for anything they need, and we'd love to get invited in to speak within the businesses, educate some of their employees, anything like that. So we're constantly out there trying to build relationships.
Very nice. Chief Davidson?
Well, I beg to differ with my two colleagues. Davidson is the best.
Sounds like a
facility.
softball game.
No, I am blessed to be the police chief in Davidson. We have a really supportive community, and we have really supportive elected leaders. And we've been able to accomplish a lot. So as kind of the state of the police department, we have moved into a new 16,750 square foot facility, giving our officers some space to breathe, a gym where they can work out and concentrate on their wellness. And we made a lot of accomplishments this year. Currently, we only have one vacancy, which is unusual in this day and age, but we're the smallest of the 3 police departments. We made a lot of progress on getting equipment. That took a lot of support from our elected leaders and from the community. They supported a tax increase that allowed us to increase our positions. So we added 3 new positions. So we're a total of 30 officers this year. We are moving in the right direction. It's very difficult, I think, to come in as a police chief when you already have a good police department. and you need to take it to that next level. There's a book, in business that people read called Going from Good to Great, and that's where I hope that we're headed at this time.
Good. Personally, I think the police in North Mecklenburg are great across the board, all three counties. I'm curious, Davidson has 30 officers. That will be a full staff.
Yes, ma'am.
And chief, how many for Huntersville?
We have 106 sworn and then 21 civilians.
And Cornelius?
We have 66 sworn and a total of 80 employees, including civilians.
And are you fully staffed?
We are today, knock on wood.
So
But yes, we have been since the first of the year.
that's fabulous. Across the country, it's a national, seems to be shortage, which
Yes.
means true to leadership and the region, we've been able to accomplish a great deal as far as hiring. How difficult is it to train and hire new staff? Are most of your officers that you're hiring that are new, are they new, young officers or established and moving to the region, or older folks who are just changing careers?
So I'll start. So we've actually had a mix of both. We've had 21, 22-year-olds that got out of college and decided, they wanted to go into law enforcement and, have no experience. We've also hired a couple of individuals who are kind of at the midpoints of their lives, but always wanted to be in law enforcement. And we're finally at a place where they were secure financially so that they could take that step. And if someone truly has that passion, and they meet the qualifications, of course, then we want to give them that opportunity. And we actually have a cadet right now going through basic law enforcement training at Mitchell who kind of fits that bill. So we're excited to have him, and he's a resident too. So.
Great, that's impressive. A couple of things that are always, when you think of crime in the region, in this region and anywhere else. Fentanyl and opioids. Do you all, I know there've been some arrests and drug busts per se. How does that affect your department, and how do you approach the problems of drug overdose and fentanyl and opioids?
Okay, this one, fentanyl, opioids is become a really bad problem, especially in the area down toward Charlotte. And once again, I say they move up here with us. We have educated all officers on it, as well as the public if possible. All officers carry Narcan. We use that quite often. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but there were several saves we had last year. We are very lucky to have the fire and medic here. They're pretty quick about getting there, so that's saved us a lot of trouble. I know that we had charged a couple people last year that we were able to trace back the drugs to where they came from and charge them with actually involuntary manslaughter on that. So we're not only attacking the folks that are selling it, we're trying to attack the folks that are producing it and shipping it in here, Paul. We also have some task force officers that are looking regionally and nationally, bringing the drugs in. So that's very important to us to fight that globally as well. So we're focused on that very heavily.
Do you see a lot of that in Davidson?
So we actually see more of the outcome of the sales. In other words, we haven't seen any actual drug investigations within Davidson, but we've had residents who have lost their lives as a result of fentanyl overdoses. And then we see the impact to some degree in the rest of the community. And certainly we actually brought DEA in to do a discussion on fentanyl and opioid overdose and abuse. And it was one of the more highly attended events because parents are concerned, they hear a lot, and they want to know what's going on in the schools.
How about Cornelius, chief?
So we see an influx from time to time, and really, I don't know what the difference is. We'll go through a stage where we'll have 3 or 4 overdoses at a time, and then we may go a month or a couple of months and not see any more. And I don't know if it's the quality of the drugs that are being sold and that people are using has a higher content, of fentanyl that causes the overdose. But unlike Huntersville, we have not carried Narcan, but we are part of the county initiative and just received our first shipment of Narcan. So we are implementing that for our officers to have access to carry it. We just finished our policy and they've got to go through training in order to be able to carry it, but we will have it available as well. And, really the difference to me with fentanyl is fentanyl will kill you. In the past, even our officers, they may have been exposed to, marijuana or marijuana smoke or, cocaine or crack cocaine. Chances are those aren't going to kill you just with a accidental contact with fentanyl. If they accidentally come into contact with fentanyl, if someone's not there to save them and they absorb it into their skin, their respiratory system or whatever else, it can actually kill you. So I mean, fentanyl is just extremely, extremely dangerous for anyone, certainly who uses it, but also just anyone who comes into contact with it.
Do you ever see a day out there, curiosity in that I've had high school students, and I've kind of rolled to the position that everybody should carry Narcan. If you're around people, it seems to me it's a drug, I mean, it's a answer to a situation that doesn't have any downside to it. If someone, you're suspect that they've had a drug overdose or of some kind, you administer the Narcan and it could save their lives, but it's not gonna hurt you if that's not the case. Is that right?
That's correct.
That's our
And
understanding.
is there an outlet for Narcan? I've been asked by several different parents, really, that how can I get some? If you know you're in an environment where children are involved in drugs or whatnot, how can people access a Narcan?
So it's available over the counter at drugstores. So it can be purchased outright.
Very good. Community engagement. We talked, when I was on the town board, we talked a lot about community policing and community engagement. I know that all three police departments do a fabulous job of engaging in schools and the high five days and the coffee with the cops and things like that. What are other ideas as far as community engagement within the business community that the chamber can get involved in, or you all would like to have access to that perhaps we can facilitate?
Well, I think one of the things is we're available to speak to any group. So any of the businesses in the community that want to hear from the police, we're gonna make ourselves available. In Davidson, we do about 350 events a year. So that's homeowners associations, businesses. We met with some businesses to provide them some specialized training on what to do in the case of an active shooter. And we make that available to anyone, the schools, the churches, and the businesses. So I guess the first thing we can do is make sure everyone understands we're available, and we have a community engagement officer. I think all three departments do. And if you want to hear from the police department, we will make ourselves available.
Excuse me, we have basically the same thing. We do have officers that are community engagement officers. We go out to homeowner associations. Would love to get in the businesses and talk about crime prevention things, the newest trends on removing electronic monitoring on your products, any type of things when it comes to shoplifter. We'll come out and explain the court process, because that's probably the biggest thing that folks have is they worry about liability if someone steals something and I stop them and they're not right. If they're not the right person or we don't catch them with it, things like that. So we would love to get out and educate our community with things like that. We do a huge amount of HOAs as well. Like you said, the coffee with the cop. We're doing pizza with the police today at our slice house. So we try to get out there and build those bonds. And, we go out there and we spend an hour and a half there, and we get one contact from the business or something like that. And then we get in and they get exposed to 10 or 15 of their employees, and they go out and they tell other folks. So it just continues to grow and build, and it's a wonderful thing.
National Night Out, I know that's another great engagement, and the Heroes Banquet, which I believe the chamber puts on for us or helps us with. It's a great opportunity, I think, for you all to showcase your officers and all our heroes, the fire, the police, everyone around that keeps us safe up here in the region. New crimes, you speak of technology. Are we seeing a lot of that influx into the North region? Fraud, I know I get a text or see a post about fraud, and if officer so-and-so calls you and says you need to speak to the Cornelius Police Department, it's fraud. How do you combat that, and how do you identify those opportunities?
From our perspective, a lot of it is that education. It's making the public aware of whatever the current fraud or scam is today, because whatever is happening today probably will not be what happens tomorrow or the next week, because the scammers are constantly, adapting to try to find that one victim they can get that information from. The IRS does not call you and tell you that they're coming to arrest you if you don't pay your taxes. The police department does not call you and tell you we're coming to arrest you if you don't pay a fine or a citation or something like that. If you ever have any questions, go to your local law enforcement agency and find out the truth, about this person. And we tell people all the time, do not go to your local drugstore or wherever else and buy gift cards and then scratch off and give the person the number. You know, that is not how we ever accept payment for anything whatsoever. You know, that's how they tend to get people.
I think one of the things is that the complexity of fraud now has gotten so sophisticated that, it is sometimes hard to distinguish what might be real and what might be a fraud. In Davidson, we've had some very complex fraud cases involving the FBI and cash payments to resolve an issue with someone's computer. But I think one of the things that I've learned in my almost 50 years of law enforcement is that there is generally something that forces someone to take action, that they feel like they've done something wrong. So if someone calls up and says, we've detected a virus on your system, we'll take it off. It's linked to some sort of criminal activity. Someone gets nervous, like, did that button that I clicked on an email cause me to do something wrong? So they get frightened. And this happens not across the board, but there's certain segments of the community that would respond differently than maybe a 16-year-old. And so we've seen some complex fraud cases where tens of thousands of dollars have been paid to an FBI agent that was gonna drive up to a stop sign, leave his back window down, and drop an envelope of $10,000 in the back window. You would say, why would anyone do that? But there's a psychology to it. And so one of the things, people want to be good citizens, and they think, well, the FBI wouldn't cheat me. And so it's important to have family members look out for their older parents that are maybe living on their own. Some of those issues where neighbors taking care of neighbors.
And that would transfer to the business world as well. In the business, with business engagement in this area, are you experiencing fraud, robberies? Clearly, we've had a few robberies, the smash and grab situations, just general breaking and entering. Is that still, what would be the top business concerns from a law enforcement perspective?
Ours is, our number of businesses probably fraud. People coming in shoplifting is probably our number one thing. We had the great opportunity to have Walmart in town. We spend a lot of time down there. We have, Lowe's, Kohl's, Target, all of them do that. And a lot of these big box stores do not want to prosecute at all. It's not worth them. If they go in there and someone steals $200 worth of stuff, and they come out and they have a lawsuit and they have to pay out $10,000 to get it to go away, it's not worth it to them. So we have a hard time getting the large companies to prosecute. The smaller folks, they're pretty good about that. You know, you've got your local auto parts store, something like that. They're pretty good about reporting things like that. We always take the opportunity to educate our folks, and that's our businesses. That's what really comes down to. You know, when it comes back to the frauds, if it seems too good to be true, generally it is. And that's why we have to remind folks. I looked at my email this morning, and it just happened to, when I was sitting here having to think about it, since midnight last night, I got 4 emails on my work email that says, hey, the transaction for the bank, let's go through. Please send us back at this number, email us back to confirm it. All scams. And you look at the emails, it looks absolutely legitimate. You would not be able to tell anything. They look like they come from Bank of America. They put in there, they scan the thing over top of it. The email looks perfectly normal. But why would someone that I don't know send me $10,000 and I need to call and confirm?
So what's the answer? I mean, if we receive emails such as that or phone calls, delete it, report it, forward it to you? What's the?
Delete it.
Yeah, don't touch it, don't click on anything, delete
Just
it.
delete it. There is a increase in organized retail theft organizations. We live off of 2 major interstates. So we know that, for example, Europeans will come in, start in Boston, get a rental car, and then just work their way down the 95 corridor. We see that all over the United States, but the East Coast and West Coast, the 2 coasts, seem to be the biggest targets for these retail organized theft rings. And that has become a real issue so oftentimes in these cases, they'll go to, let's say, a Walmart, they'll present some form of ID, but we can't verify who that person is. And so oftentimes, the threshold for making it a criminal prosecution or felony prosecution is much higher today than it was in years past. And so we end up writing a citation and the person goes on their way, never to be seen again. And that's become a real problem. And then, of course, the judicial system is overwhelmed. And in the scheme of things, this may not meet their threshold, but when it happens from coming down, let's say the I-77, Mooresville, Davidson, Cornelius, Huntersville, and then into Charlotte, it is a problem.
I would imagine too, some of our drug trafficking problem stems from just that same thing with the highway access. North, south, east, and west, 5 minutes of the spot.
The Sinaloa cartel, and one of their major drug routes is through Charlotte.
Collaboration, I know, many times I've known of police work in Davidson that was accomplished and to a great outcome with the help of Cornelius, and I'm certainly with Huntersville as well. How do you all coordinate your departments? I know, I remember when we put cameras in and Cornelius had cameras first, and then Davidson put cameras up, but we caught a murder suspect, actually, I believe, with Cornelius cameras. Some great police work done collaboratively with the departments. How do you all encourage that? I'm sure it's probably in its nature to your officers at this point, but there seems to be a great coordination amongst the police officers as well as the chiefs, I would imagine.
So I'd like to speak first only because I think I'm the smallest and need the most help. But I will tell you that I have been so pleased with the cooperation that we get from Cornelius and Huntersville. We've had multiple cases since I've been here where the help from both of the agencies has helped us either catch someone, identify someone using the camera systems. And we literally when we have a major incident, we do depend on the other agencies to come in. We have a memorandum of agreements where we can share resources. And what's unique is Huntersville and Davidson share the same radio frequency. So chief officers hear what's going on in Davidson and they can start immediately coming towards our direction because they hear the intensity of the crime. And so that's a big help for us. And that helped early Sunday morning, a few weeks back, where they immediately heard we had a high-speed chase one time in River Run, and the car crashed and the individual fled the scene, and Cornelius K-9 officer responded within just minutes because we didn't have a K-9 officer available. So I am extremely pleased with the cooperation, and then the officers individually, I think, cooperate on a daily basis. I can't tell you. Well, I feel sorry for Chief Baucom and Chief Vaughn because we're always calling them, asking for assistance on a variety of issues.
Small fish needs big fish.
I'll go next. It really all starts with this, and that's conversation, getting to know each other. Through the years, I would say all three agencies have had a good relationship. But in recent years, I would say it's had a great relationship. And that's because of the relationship that I have with Chief Graham and he has with me and my officers and Chief Davidson as well. Chief Davidson, second in command, worked with me, has been with Davidson for 27 years. So we're all friends to start with. So, the working relationship is only enhanced by that. And we genuinely care about each other individually and each other's talents. I don't want someone to be a victim of a crime in Huntersville or Davidson any more than I want one of our residents to be a victim of a crime. And if we can stop that or prevent that here, then that's what we're going to do. So
It's family. That's the bottom line. We may be the biggest, but that doesn't mean that we don't need help. We're the little brother to Charlotte, right south of us, so we need them just as much as they need us. We were at one time on their communications. Literally, if you take a radio, flip it one time and one on their dispatch. So we're always, very close. I know that when they need anything, we're there. Same thing. For the last, how long we've had the North Neck squad?
I'm trying to think.
15 years?
Yeah.
About
Yeah,
15 years. All three towns have put together a unified SWAT team or special emergency team. Those folks work together every month and we have 2 training days. We have, like Chief Baucom said, we've never had an issue. You know, you hear about some departments not getting along. That is not our problem in North Mecklenburg. The person that steals at Walmart comes right up here and steals in Davidson from the grocery store or some of these other local shops. It's the same criminals we deal with day after day after day.
It's that quick drive down 77 and
Yes,
the
ma'am.
whole road.
If we don't share information, we won't get anything done. So you have to cooperate and it's a wonderful relationship.
How do you all approach the lake? I remember I'm not sure of the situation now as to who patrols what and how the calls come. I do remember a period of time where
So
our
I'll
lake,
take that way.
our lake
don't wanna
calls
get
would go
to
to
that.
Charlotte. They didn't know where the lake, what road we were on. I think we've certainly come a long, long way.
So in 2015, 2016, the Cornelius Police Department took over primary responsibility jurisdiction over Lake Norman, not only within Cornelius, but all of Mecklenburg County. So we, at the time, were not receiving the level of service we thought we should, for our residents from Charlotte Meck, and that's just the way it is. So, Chief Hole did a proposal to the county, and, they agreed to allow us to, take over those responsibilities on a trial basis for a year, and then that got extended, and then that contract is continuing to be extended, every time it comes up for, renewal. The lake is just a wonderful resource and asset for not only our residents, but for everyone who wants to come here and enjoy it. And safety and education is our number one goals on the water. So I couldn't be more proud of our lake patrol unit, whether they're working in the Cornelius waters or the Davidson waters, or the Huntersville waters, or really any part of Mecklenburg County. We're available to respond 24/7. We have 8 officers and a supervisor assigned to that team, and literally they're available to respond any time of the day or night, 365 days a year.
Are they on the water every day?
They're on the water, every day. Now, the wintertime, of course, it's not nearly as much as it is during the summertime, kind of the peak, boating season, but they at least go out and check all the major points, go through the main channel, and you would be surprised how much activity there is on the water, from fishermen and things like that during kind of the off boating season, and they get into trouble just like, people get into trouble during the normal boating season. So it's important for us to be out there. If someone is broken down and didn't have a radio, doesn't have a cell phone or whatever else, at least they can, flag us down. So we are out there, at least once or twice during the day, and then early evening during the winter time. But, during the boating season or the summertime, they're on the water, I would say probably 16, 18 hours a day. So.
Eight officers and a supervisor, you said. How many boats do we have on the water now?
So we have 2 primary boats. We have a third boat that is kind of a backup boat, that's set up more like a fishing boat. It's a small center console, but we recently just purchased a third primary boat. 2 of those are open center consoles, and then we have one that's a fully enclosed cabin for bad weather, wintertime, things like that. So, and I'll give a shout out. We're actually doing a christening for 2 new fire engines and our new boat, next Friday, the 22nd, out of Ranch Creek Park. So the boat is in transit right now from the dealer to us, and it'll be delivered tomorrow.
Yeah,
Something interesting is, I think probably all our chiefs met with, Senator Tillis's chief of staff, really regarding security,
Yes.
things like that. What's interesting about that is people like Tom Tillis have no security. They don't provide security, so, it's important for us to protect them locally. So interesting enough is we protect Senator Tillis from the lakeside, and Huntersville protects them from the roadside. So coordination is pretty important there.
Yes.
Kind of interesting.
Absolutely. Their help on the lake is not even measured. We don't, they do an outstanding job, but we don't really want to get in the boat business at this time. I'm extremely happy that they took that and they're knocking it out of the park.
That's great.
It's unbelievable how helpful they are.
Well, and the increase, just certainly looking at the lake through COVID with the boating activity, and everybody seems to have a boat, and I'm not real sure everybody's trained on how to drive a boat, operate a boat. Pretty sure they're not. I wish we could implement some kind of training program and safety program that was mandatory for, seems to me if you get a driver's license to drive a car, you ought to have to go through a class to drive a boat, but that doesn't compute.
So I'll talk about something else. We're actually in the process of starting a boating and safety center at the Black Landing facility, out there where the cafeteria was. We signed an agreement with Mecklenburg County last year. It was kind of during the middle of the voting season and we weren't able to get it fully operational. But we're working on having that open this spring and it'll be kind of a one-stop shop where someone can come in, ask questions, get PFDs or personal flotation devices if they don't have one. And just really any kind of safety and education resource that we can possibly provide to the public, because you're right, one of the biggest contributing factors that we find when someone is injured or God forbid they drown in the water is, the safety and education component. They didn't know that they have to be wearing a personal flotation device the entire time that they're riding a jet ski, if it's in motion. A very tragic ground we had is someone had one on, but it wasn't fastened correctly and they fell off and hit their head and the flotation device came off and they drowned. If the flotation device had been zipped up and properly fitted, they probably would have survived.
Yeah.
So.
That's good. And when is that? When is
The
that
facility-
program to begin?
Well, we're working on it now, but it'll be open for the boating season. We don't have an official date, for the opening.
It's gonna be in May though.
Yeah, sometime in May. And the unofficial boating season is Memorial Day to Labor Day. So somewhere around there, but
You said Blythe, is it off the Blythe?
Blythe Lane, yes. Yeah, right there by the boat ramps.
Let's see, what else do we have on my list? AI. How is AI affecting policing? The new artificial intelligence.
So we actually just distributed a policy that we won't use AI in the creation of our documents. There is some history behind using AI in the creation of, let's say, a search warrant. So we don't want our officers to use AI to create a search warrant. We want them to do the hard HPC hunt, peck and cuss, that officers do. But it has advantages. I mean, certainly AI is a component of the block camera system. But so it's like anything, it's a new technology. It has a lot of capability. We just have to make sure within the Davidson Police Department that we manage that capability and we don't let officers become lazy and start letting AI write their reports. Because that has a potential problem when it goes to trial.
Makes sense. How about, what's the experience in Huntersville?
We don't have a policy on it, but we have an agreement, like we discussed it with especially with our search warrants. We have no idea when you put that in there, where that information is stored at. It's, it's supposed to be secure and things like that, but it's always something in the back of your mind to make sure it's not. Chief Davidson mentioned our flock cameras. I think that's probably our biggest thing right now. We've got flock cameras throughout town. We're just reading tags. We get alerts for that. We put them up. We had 5 stolen cars in 5 days. The first week we had them up.
Define for us flock.
Okay, let's say license plate, automatic license plate reader. A car driver passes it, reads the license plate, and then it runs it through the criminal history to see if there's any warrants for protective orders, criminal warrants, stolen car, stolen tag, anything like that. And after a while, it cycles through those, so everybody's worried about keeping tags. It doesn't. There's a time period that those tags go out of the system, but it reads all the tags that are on the street.
And it's specific to tags, but you also have cameras that are recording.
We do.
All 3 towns, correct?
Yes, ma'am. We've got over 70 traffic cams. That's just on the street. Plus we've got them in the parks and things like that. We've got just over 200 total cameras that include in our buildings and in the parks. We've got plans for another 60, between 50 and 60 cameras to go out in traffic. We offer those to anybody in the business that want them for their parking lots. We can go through the Verkada to get those added into our system. We're not monitored like we have in Charlotte, where there's a real-time crime center. So everything we're gonna be watching would be afterwards, unless we have a chase or a crime or something like that. We can get on there and it's all live. So if you have a robbery somewhere, we can get on the cameras, watch them as they go through town or whatever, but it's extreme help to us.
Chief Davidson, one thing I do know, a little versed in is our co-responder.
Yes.
Mental health is a concern everywhere at all times. For sure in the police department, it's a great concern and interest. I know that Davidson has implemented the co-responder program. I'm not familiar with whether or not Huntersville and Cornelius have as well. Can you speak to what we're experiencing with the co-responder and what it's about?
Sure. So co-responder is someone that has a different set of training than the police officer. in our particular case, we have an individual who has a master's degree in licensed clinical social work. Our co-responder works in kind of I call it a hybrid role because they work directly with the police officers on certain calls. They'll go out individually on certain calls and they'll do follow-up. But about 20% of our calls in Davidson, and this is pretty much nationwide, are what I would call non-law enforcement calls for service. These are, let's say, a mother and child arguing over schoolwork that somehow results in a call to 911. So if our co-responder is working, the police officer and the co-responder will go and we may talk about some programs to help with the child, some programs to help with the parent. So it allows us to go in and let the co-responder take over because it's a different set of skill sets. And then the police officer kind of stand in the background. And it has been extremely successful. I have the statistics on our co-responder. We've been in operation since August. We have 93 calls that we've gone out on. We recently had a call where we took 4 children out of a home, which probably wouldn't have happened without the co-responders' knowledge of the Department of Social Services systems and individuals within the social services systems, getting doctors involved. So it has been a true force multiplier for the Davidson Police Department. And we are very, very fortunate. It also is not just the program, it's the individual and how passionate this individual is on providing these services to the community. And I would say that from all accounts, it has been well received by the community.
So we do not currently have a co-responder. That was one of my budget requests for this year. So it's working its way through our budgetary process. But I will say, and I think I can speak for all 3 agencies, mental health issues are a real problem, a real concern for law enforcement and how we deal with them. And the ability to have someone with the training and knowledge and experience to interact with that person in ways that police officers just simply aren't trained to do is a great benefit, because of course, the last thing that any agency ever wants to do is use force on someone who was suffering from mental health crisis. And unfortunately, sometimes we're put in a situation where really that's our only alternative, so if there's anything that we can do to prevent that, whether it's a co-responder or some other way, then that's what we want to do.
That's great.
We do not have a co-responder when definition by Chief Davidson, that being a licensed clinical social worker. We do have, we just started our victims advocate program. So we have a supervisor and 3 victims advocates. We originally started going down the line they did, and I believe you got an outside source that you're putting.
Yes.
We applied and we were told they didn't have enough folks at the time to staff it. So that was the reason, because we were looking at 4 or 5 at the time. So we backed up and we're doing folks that have a degree in human health and human services, psychology, sociology, social work, things like that. These folks are going to be doing very similar things. Instead of being a licensed clinical social work, we would have outside resources that we would lean on to be able to help them with that. They're all educated in mental health, DSS law, things like that. They'll go out for any type of call we do. We would never put them in any danger, but we get a serious call. They would go out, they respond close, kind of like stage, and then we'll get the point. We'd bring them in there. So we literally have got everybody hired. They're on board. We just finished up their training. So I don't even have any stats to give you this time, but we're well on the road to getting that done. So it's very similar to what the other folks are doing. So I agree with Chief Baucom that this is extremely important. It's mental health. You don't realize how much mental health issues are related to law enforcement in general, but it helps us out tremendously, having those folks that are educated and that have the background to help us find resources for these folks.
It's a great approach. I see that as a standard probably within police departments.
Yes.
Moving forward. Bill?
Yeah, and this may be directed toward Mayor Washam. An issue we were on for 15 years with the magistrate issue, which
That's my name.
I'm pretty sure that Representative Bradford, I think it got funded, but the logistics aren't worked out. I guess 2-part question. Number 1, where is that? And then would our chiefs talk about why we need a magistrate so badly in North Mecklenburg? So,
Well, let me kick it off and I'll turn to Huntersville to, follow up, but, this started out with having mayors and the police chiefs, as Chief Boyle back in the day, and probably, Chief Black, it was that long ago, with Judge Trosh down in Charlotte. It was a very hopeful meeting. Huntersville's providing the space, and, that passed that hurdle. No expense to, the county for that. So, it was moving along pretty well, and that was that long ago. Some of us have recently asked for an update, but I had that same question on my mind, so I'll turn up here and let the chief answer that.
We're in a hurry up and wait game right now. We've got I've asked for funds to do the, construction of the area. It's gonna be right up our lobby down there. As soon as you come in, we're gonna put a hole in the wall down there and change the area to a magistrate's office down there. We brought them in, we let them have, hey, we need this, we'd like to do that. So we checked all the boxes for them. Judge Trosh, has went through the process. We've got approval to have the magistrate through the state and all that. That gives an additional, the Mecklenburg County, an additional person to cover that. It's not gonna be 24/7 at this time. It'll probably be the peak times, weekends, Thursday through Sunday, something like that. So we've got all that done. Then the magistrate office itself says they're having a hiring process, just like everybody else. Problem getting folks in there, then they have to get them trained. So, she still says that we're full speed ahead. It's just logistics right now. The reason we need one is that, Mayor Washington's correct. I've been here 27 years and I've heard about a magistrate up here for the entire time I've been here. Chief Hall was here when I got here in 1997 and we talked about it then. Our folks don't have the opportunity to travel down to Charlotte in the middle of the night, domestic violence, things like that. It's a very daunting task, scary task for someone that's been abused, been involved with domestic violence to go down at 3 o'clock in the morning, travel all to Charlotte. And so we're trying to give that resource up here. Folks can come in and get warrants with these folks. Our officers can get advice on different things like that. So it's going to be a huge resource to the businesses and the citizens as well as our officers. We're going to try to see if we can't remove some of those impediments we've got in folks doing what they need. That goes back to, that all reflects back to our co-responders and our victim advocates. These folks, we're going to follow these folks along. So not only putting a magistrate up there, our co-responders and our victim advocates will be able to follow them through the process and give them help with the course and things like that. So it's kind of a circular thing. So we're all coming together as one. We're just trying to provide better service for our citizens.
So they're also incorporating some virtual kinds of
Yes.
approaches too.
That is
Right.
currently almost open. We did the testing last week. So that's gonna be more for our officers. For some serious situations, citizens could do it. Where we call in down at the magistrate's office, we talk to them, and then we get on a video conference, like a Zoom type thing. It's not Zoom, but something similar to that, and they'll be able to do our, testify to our facts of the thing, and then we'd be able to fax back and forth.
and that's legally
That was a huge hurdle to get through, but as it stands right now, we've got through that. We've got the courts to approve that.
But that's a big step right there.
Yes. They use e-sign or DocuSign. We'll be able to track all that.
So one note, also in the room, we have Dave Rochester, who's the chair of North Mecklenburg Crime Stoppers. Many of our Crime Stoppers board members are here supporting the police, as we do. That would be our mission. We work with the police departments and the police chiefs. I'm gonna let Dave speak a minute just about Crime Stoppers and how we can be effective in the business world as well. We are there for the citizens of this region, the businesses in this region, and the police departments in the region. Dave?
Thank you, Beth. I'll only take a minute because this is the Chief's Day. I would say with me here today are 2 board members, Brian Sisson and Eileen, and Beth, of course, is a member of the board. Our Crime Stopper chapter is set up as a 501c3, all volunteers. We don't have members. We just have board members. There's Crime Stoppers International. It operates in 26 different countries around the world. In the United States, the various chapters are set up in different ways. Ours is a 501c3. We work very closely with the police departments. We will not answer 911 calls. It's critical that you don't call Crime Stoppers. If you see something, a burglary, a carjacking, whatever it is, don't call Crime Stoppers. Call the police, 911. Before an event, you may see an instance where a crime is being built up but hasn't happened yet. Someone building a bomb in the garage, for example, or a high school kid doing something with guns, they getting ready to take them to school. You report that and we can give you a tip. A lot of people are afraid to go to the police. They can go to us anonymously, and especially after a crime is committed, you want to go to Crime Stoppers because we need evidence to lock up a case. The officers at the case happens will get a lot of information with the crime scene van, but either 3 or 4 days later, we need more evidence. One way we do this stuff is there's an awful lot of apartment buildings in these 3 towns. So we give out these door hangers to all the detectives and then the patrol rooms for the patrol guys. So after a shooting happens in a parking lot or a drug deal or something of an apartment complex, of course, no one answers the door, no one saw anything, but the officers can go around and put these door hangers on the doorknobs, and then people a day or 2 later who are too shy to talk to the police will call Crime Stoppers, things like that. We've had cases on the lake, talked about the lake. But we've got programs in the schools with the SROs. So I've taken enough time.
We do. We try to work hand in hand with the police officers and assisting and supporting in any way we can. We also, in our monthly meetings, an officer from each town typically comes and reports, and if they have someone they want to put forward who has brought information to the police department that's led to an arrest, we will then make cash awards. So it's a cash award situation that the officers can use to help their cause and also help their relationships. It's, everybody needs a little cash here. So, I believe John Alexander has his hand up on the virtual screen. John?
Yes, ma'am. Just wanted to kind of double back to the magistrate discussion. Is there anything, that we can do as private citizens, entrepreneurs, business owners to help push that down, push that process along?
Any type of pull with your elected officials and judges and things like that is always helpful. As it stands right now, I believe we are gonna get one. The timeline's gonna be the biggest issue. Anytime you talk to anyone that has any power, any influence over those folks, please remind them this is a huge deal for us. It's gonna be a huge help and asset to all of the residents up here. And it'll actually reduce some of the calls they have down at the magistrate's office downtown. So it's a win-win for everybody.
It's really hard to tell who has that influence, right, Bill? That's what we have battled with all this time. And it's really now up to the judge.
Yes, ma'am.
Group of folks. Judge Trosh is the leader of that. So, I'm not sure there's a lot we can do with that end of it, but, if you run into Judge Trosh, I mean, certainly tell her about the need, but, other than that.
I will Google his name, sir. All right, so. See what
Chief.
She's the chief district court judge.
Everybody send an email today.
Or sign up to be a magistrate, that may be helpful too.
That's
Yes.
right. Everybody's qualified. They're looking for people.
Yeah, low paid, so if you're looking for a job, that would be helpful.
That's true. Qualifications to be a magistrate?
Maybe a set of keys and then.
Therein lies some of our situation. Chiefs, you've done a great job. Visions, new protocols for 2024. We've answered that with victim advocate, the new boating safety of life. It's, you all have brought a great new vision, I think, not a new vision for 2024, which is always needed. And you've got great forces that work together. I know a lot of the officers, they're great people, men and women. I know that there's an effort too to bring in more bilingual officers, female officers, sort of to match your society. I hope that continues. I think bilingual, we all need to be bilingual at this point in our lives. Differences fun. Differences between being a police officer 20 years ago and being a police officer today.
So I started in 1978. We didn't have portable radios.
Yeah.
We would get out of the car, make a traffic stop, you put the outside speaker on, and they'd go 535, 535. You're talking to the person engaged, there might be something serious, 535, and then they'd say, no response from 535, 536, back up 535. So we have more officers, we have better technology. I'm amazed about the complexity of just operating the data systems and the communication systems we have in the car today. I don't know how many passwords I personally have, but I know it's less than the officers, and I probably have 13 or 14 different passwords. We have the ability to track so much of what an officer does on his day-to-day routine. Of course, we've gone from the old style revolver that I started with and to very sophisticated pistols with a different type of sighting system, what we call a red dot system or a holographic system that ensures a higher level of accuracy. Our radios, more recent version of our radios will track us where we are in a building. So there's been huge technological improvements in police work. The internet has been a great find for us. I kind of transitioned from, as a special agent, when there was no internet, into the internet world. And I was amazed how many cases were solved just because people put stuff on the internet. And so I've seen that transition. I've seen the transition from not having a mobile or a portable phone to carrying the big brick to the small computers we carry in our pocket every day. That actually has been a huge benefit to law enforcement investigations because everything is done by your phone. If we get your phone and we have the right authorizations and we get the data from it, it can really help solve a case. So I've seen a lot, and sometimes I wish it were back in the old days. And then some days I'm so thankful we aren't back in the old days. But police officers are better trained. I think they're smarter. I just think that we've seen a really positive movement. I also believe a lot of this technology allows us to better engage with the community. We can put out messages, we can interact on social media, we can do the fun things, we can do the important things to warn people. I don't know if anyone remembers about 3 years ago during COVID when they were doing the different challenges here in the Mecklenburg County. I think it started with CMPD, and I think they challenged all the other police officers on videos with the officers dancing to a particular song. But, you know, that's a good way to interact with the
We need to
community.
bring that back. That needs to be a 2024 initiative.
I'm all for it as long as the chief doesn't have to dance.
I've got the perfect answer to that question, is what he said. He
covered a
he
lot.
covered everything. I would say our biggest thing that's changed is probably just society as a whole. Their outlook on law enforcement, it's good, better now, it's worse now, it just depends on what you're doing, but I would say that when it comes to stuff like that in law enforcement, it's a pendulum. And there's times that we're not so well needed or wanted, and then there's times that everybody is glad that we're there. So I believe that's probably the biggest difference. Our court system is not nearly as hard as I think it should be now as what it used to be. But for the most part, I think our technology has really increased our opportunity to solve crimes and things like that. Of course, with the technology and us solving them comes more opportunities for them to commit them. So
It's getting more dangerous.
I will tell you that it was rare when I started to see someone with a gun. I will tell you today, it's even in Davidson, it's common to see someone with a gun. And to see that person not only had the gun, but be willing to use it against the police department, police officer.
Is it more dangerous? Yes and no. I think our technology on our body armor and things like that is safer than what it used to be. It's lighter, you know, it can take more impact with different size rounds, so I think that helps. Also, I tell you that I don't know, it's more violent now than what it used to be. I believe it is, but the 24-hour news cycle has really changed the way everybody looks at the world. is that you see every single thing. You know, if you had a shooting in California 30 years ago, you would never hear about it, but you know within 30 minutes now. So it brings everything to light. So it makes it look a lot worse than it probably is. You know, we've had problems around the world and around the United States for years, but you just didn't always have the information, and now it's at your fingertips.
I will tell you that we talked a little bit about the mental health component. I believe, and I don't have any statistics to back this up, that the level of stress in society is much greater today because of some of these technology improvements. I didn't see that in 1978, 79 when I first started. So.
Yeah, I've always described law enforcement as a roller coaster with the ups and downs. You know, during the incident with Rodney King in Los Angeles, many years ago, you know, of course, law enforcement was down, society was down on law enforcement, and then it picked back up, and then it happened again recently. So it's just a ride, you know, but I will say that the way society looks at law enforcement as a whole does not reflect how the residents of Cornelius look at us, and I don't think it does at Davidson, Huntersville. We have never not felt the support of our residents my entire career, you know, and that's one of the wonderful things about working here, you know, is the support that the community gives the police department. You know, we had protesters for the first time out front of our police department in the street during the most recent incidents. And we also had supporters of the police department there, you know, saying, that's not our police department. Our police department would never do that. You know, our police officers are better than that, you know, and police officers are human, and we do make mistakes. And it's what we do after the fact that really matters. You know, when a mistake happens, you know, we own up to it, we take credit for it. You know, of course, there's been some really bad examples, and, you know, part of my job as a chief and their chiefs as well is to weed those bad apples per se out, to prevent that from happening at any one of our agencies.
That's great. Fabulous, Nick.
I was just gonna say, I think Sir Robert Peel said it back in the 1800s, you know, the community is the police are the community. I really believe that. I certainly believe that at Davidson, just like the other departments, the community is very supportive of our police department. And our officers really engage the community in a different way than I saw when I worked in the Washington DC area. And in my past 2 police departments before that, they spend the time and when I was applying for the job, I came to Christmas in Davidson on the first night, and I saw officers speak to the residents by name, and the residents speak to the officers by name, and I saw that connection. And that was really kind of the impetus that made me go ahead and accept that job, the relationship between the community and the police.
Excellent.
We need to keep it going. As a chamber and as a business member of the chamber, I hope that all of you will reach out to our chiefs and their departments and have them visit your business, have them speak to your employees. Anything that would fit in your world, it would be welcome. They've offered. Certainly stay in touch and everybody communicate. And I'd love a song for our new dance contest. Anybody?
I hear you.
Silence. All right, I'll come up with it.
And next month's program again is?
Next month's program will be our 3 towns Parks and Recs directors, talking about clearly Parks and Rec, what they do for the area, the connectivity, the greenways, everything Parks and Rec, sports. So thank you, Lakeland.
One PSA real quickly, our chamber banquet is again Thursday night. Yesterday, we had like 10 seats left. That's all we got left. So, and I'm not sure we have them left now, but if you are somebody that's interested in coming, you need to see where we're at with Leslie today. We got some fantastic people we're recognizing. Our Duke Citizenship Service Award, Robin Salzman. Again, what she's been able to do. In December, Jack and Robin, through their foundation, gave away $250,000 to 10 Lake Norman charities or regional charities. So fantastic. Lisa Mayhew Jones, from here in Cornelius with our John Cherry Community Service Award. Business Person of the Year, Joel Olson down here with O2 Group Energy. And then Justin Kazepis, Entrepreneur of the Year. So we've got some fantastic people we're recognizing this coming Thursday. And again, if you're interested, please see. One other thing, Sally Ashworth, they've got an event going on, and so they're kind of split with people here. She couldn't be up here, but she said, please Can the officers stop downstairs because Visit Lake Norman has something that they want to present to our officers? So if you can, before you walk out, go downstairs or Visit Lake Norman. Again, Mike, thank you so very much, for what Novant does to support the Chamber of Commerce.
If I can do a quick PSA, I don't know that the community knows how much these guys partner with the hospital. There is action at the hospital all the time, and these guys are in and out of the hospital supporting us, so thank you so much for what you guys do.
Thank you.
Novant is our sponsor of our junior leadership and our Leadership Lake Norman program, and the juniors just went on a tour. And they get to see, whether it's the helicopter going through the ER or things like that, and they just came back and go like, wow. And some of them beforehand didn't know what they wanted to do. Now, several of them said, I want to be in healthcare. So, thank you, Mike, for that. Business Day, Cornelius Day, Dave, anything on Big Day Lake real quickly?
Sure, let's see. We're at 110,000 for Big Brothers Big Sisters.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and still working on it.
Right. Again, if you guys can stop in the visitor center downstairs, Sally has something that she wanted to present, and thank everybody for coming today.
It's already. Can I get a picture of you guys? You know.